Hello and welcome to Instant Graphics Now. In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to edit the metallic white bold shadow 3D text effects Photoshop template using the free Photopea software. So let's get started. So on the screen here, you can see that I've opened up the template using photopea.com. And when you open the template, you will see the clearly labeled layers to the right of the canvas, okay? And it's these layers that we're going to use to edit this template and make it our own. So when you open up the layers, you can click on the drop down box to see it. That first one shows some of the text effects, how they were created. And then you have the middle layer, the second layer called text effect, right? And when you click that drop down arrow, you'll see the sub layers underneath that. And then the other layer you have is called the background layer that has the background color. So I'm going to show you both how to change the text itself and how to change the background to achieve the look that you're trying to create. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to just hide things that we don't necessarily want to be showing on our final text effect, right? So this text right here where it says PSD text effect, fully editable, etc., you can hide that from view simply by clicking on the eyeball that's associated with it, right? So when we open up this drop down under additional text and we click the eyeball next to PSD text effect, we'll notice that that hides it from view. And the same thing for the next eyeball that hides from view the next set of text, okay? If you want that to display for any reason, or if you want to change that to something else, you can do so just by enabling or turning on the eyeball and then making whatever changes you want from there. But for this example, I'm going to hide those text pieces from view, okay? And so now what we're going to do is make the change to the actual metallic text effect, right? And the way we do that is by editing the smart layer associated with that. And we can do that by clicking on this label here. So let me just open it a little bit just so we're absolutely clear on what it is we're working with here and everybody can see that, right? So you'll see the smart layer is labeled double click to replace text. And when we double click that, we get a new tab that opens up on the canvas that has a text object on there. So now it's just a matter of editing the text in this text object and saving the changes. And we do that by double clicking on it. So now you'll see that it's all been selected. If the canvas or the text object appears a little bit too big for the area you're working with, you can zoom out of it by using your keyboard. You can hold down the control key and press the hyphen or minus key, and you can bring it better into view to work with easier. And so I have that text selected. So now I can go ahead and enter whatever text I want it to say. So let's just say I want to type the word hello. I can do that, right? And I can change the font if I want to, but for right now, let's just change the text and see what that looks like on our final text effect. Once you make a change in this text object, the way you're going to save that change is by going up to the File menu and clicking on Save Smart Object. All right, and you need to give it some time to work. So as we see here, depending on how fast Photopea is working and the speed of your internet connection, it'll update quickly or slowly. Mine just updated. So now we can click back on the text effect to see what that looks like. And again, clicking on it may take some time, but we see here that it's showing here. And so in this example, it is a little bit bigger, right? Because it was bigger than the canvas in the smart object. But that's okay. We can just go back to the smart object and resize the text, right? So we can go ahead and click on it again. We can change the size of the text here in the size box for the font. And let's make that, for example, 450, okay? And we see now that I've reduced it to a size that fits within the canvas. And I'm just going to drag this up a little bit and center it. And we can tell it's centered by those little demarkers there. And we're going to save the smart object again. So go back to File and click on Save Smart Object and wait for it to update very patiently. Okay, and now that that's updated, I'm going to click on the photo effect again to view the final result. And voila, the text has been updated. So this text effect can be edited by changing the text, and you can also change the font and the size as you just saw. Right, let's make one more change just so we can see the different kinds of effects that we can achieve achieved with this design. So I've selected the text, and I'm just going to go up here to the font selector and select a different font so we can get an idea of what that could look like with a different typeface. So let's see. I'm going to try something a little bit with a little bit of body to it. Let's try this acknowledgement font. And I'm going to make this smaller as well. So let's see if we can just make it 350 in size. That seems to fit in there. And I'm going to go ahead and select this and move it until I center it, and we'll save it again. So File and Save Smart Object. Wait for it to update, and then we can see what it looks like with this new font. Clicking back on the tab here, we'll wait for it to switch over, and then we can see, voila, the new change. So now you know how to change the text of the text effect, right? You can change the font, you can change what it says, and you can also change the size of the text, okay? So now another cool thing you can do with this text effect is that you can also change the background color. So by default, it comes with this red dotted background, but you can change it to whatever you like. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so we can get a better idea. And the way you do that is just by holding down the Control key and pressing the plus key. And we can zoom in a little bit to get a better view. So if you want to insert a different background image, you can do that, right? And so the way we do that is we can insert an item or an image as a background when we insert it as a layer. And the way you do that is to just go to File, and you can go to the option that says Open and Place. And when you do that, the window will appear where you can select where you have the image saved that you want to use as the background. I've already downloaded a background here, so I'm going to click on it and then click Open and wait for it to be loaded by the text effect. It may take a moment depending on how large the size is of your file, and you can see here that it inserted it. So now what I can do is I can use these resizing handles to size the new background to whatever size I need it to be. For our example, I'm going to size it so that it really just replaces the existing red background. So I'm going to click on these resizing handles, and I'm going to drag them until I reach the size that I want for this background. But we're not done quite yet, right? So once I resize this new background image, there's one more step I need to take. When we look over here to the right where the layers are, we need to make sure that this background is now repositioned underneath the text so that it does appear as a background the way we intended, right? So we're going to move it down to the background layer and place it above this red existing background to achieve that. So to do that, all you do is click and drag, and you'll see that a white line now appears as you're clicking and dragging this layer, and you want to drag it so it's in the background area above the existing red background. And don't worry, if you click it underneath by accident, you can just click and drag it above again, and then let go of your mouse button. And then what will happen once you give it some time to work is that now it replaces the red background that was there. You know, for best practice, what you should do is also make the red background not visible if you're no longer going to be using it for your design. But that's how you can change the background design for this text effect as well. So you can play around with this and achieve all kinds of looks for your design. And then once you get it looking the way you like, you can now export it to the file format that you need for your project. So in Photopea, what you can do is you can go to the File menu, and then you go to the Export As option. And from there, you can select various image formats. Some of the most popular ones are PNG, JPEG, SVG, GIF, and then you have other formats as well. And if you go to the More option underneath that, there are other image formats. Whichever export format you select, once you click on it, what will happen is that it will generate a window here where you can name the export any name you like. If you decide to change the format, you can by reselecting a new format there. You can adjust the sizes, either sizing it proportionately, or you can click that to disconnect the width and the height from sizing at the same time. And then once you've adjusted these settings to whatever fits your needs, you can click on the Save button, and it will allow you to save this newly created design to wherever you need to on your computer or whatever external device. So that's how easy it is to edit this text effect using the Photopea software. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful, and if you'd like to purchase this text effect, I've provided a link to buy it from my Etsy shop in the description. Thanks for watching and have a great day.